Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb. And we are kicking off Horror Movie Month. And we're going to be talking about an all time classic zombie movie, a movie that a lot of people consider one of the best horror movies and one of the best zombie movies ever. And that is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. But before we get to that, we're going to do like we always do. And Caleb, have you watched anything good?
I don't really have anything to share. It's been a little bit busy for us, so I don't. I think maybe I fit in an episode or two of JJK, the anime. Um,
Okay.
it's been good, so good stuff. Still have not finished the first season yet though, so um, but yeah, I didn't really watch anything outside of that. I will say though, The Last of Us season 2 is coming out right now.
Okay.
I have not started watching it. I'm planning to wait until all the episodes are out except the last one, and then I'm gonna binge it and then watch the last one as soon as it comes out, basically.
Ah, okay.
And I'll probably be talking about that one. I might even do my own little short video kind of review or something because I have more of a vested interest in that because of my experience with the video game. And I don't know if you've heard, but like there's all sorts of controversial stuff up and down with that show because like the video game community hates it, the people who are watching the show hate it, like but then they love
Yeah.
it, and it's like it's all over the place. So
Yeah,
there's
I know a lot of people are upset about the casting of Ellie.
yeah. Well, that was the first season. So like people were upset about that, and now in the second season people are really upset about the character casting for Abby, who is like
Yeah.
one of the more important characters in the second season. So, yeah, it's interesting. I've heard a lot. It's not really a spoiler for me because I played the game, so I know most of what happens except for some of the small changes they're making for the show.
hmm
So some of the concerns make sense, and yeah, it'll just be interesting. I'll be talking about more obviously when I watch it. So
Yeah, as far as what I've watched, not a whole heck of a lot. I watched like one episode of My 600 Pound Life.
okay,
Um, I watched a couple of the Pistons games because they're in the playoffs.
yeah, that
I
just
watched the
ended.
NFL draft because that was going on.
Rock.
And then I watched the latest episode of Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and I watched the latest episode of Dark Side of the Ring, which was about Eddie Gilbert. And
Hmm.
it was pretty decent. I didn't really know anything about him other than his name. But yeah, I mean that's a great show. So I can't remember what next week is supposed to be. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So we might as well talk about Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is from 1978 and is directed by George A. Romero. The plot is during an escalating zombie epidemic, two Philadelphia SWAT team members, a traffic reporter, and his TV executive girlfriend seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. The cast, we got David Emge
Er,
as
er,
Stephen,
McGurr.
Emge, Ken Forey as Peter, Scott Rayner as Roger, and Galen Ross as Francine.
PETA.
Beanie. Yeah, I've seen this movie a handful of times. I think I've probably seen Night of the Living Dead more than this,
Okay.
but yeah, I've seen this one quite a few times. I will say that Day of the Dead is the one I've seen the least, but it doesn't mean that it's particularly bad.
Rock. Yeah, no, first time watch for me. I I have more experience with a variety of zombie video games, and so it's
hmm
kind of interesting to see that they've taken direct inspiration from some movies because I mean I always kind of figured that there was a zombie movie centered around trying to survive in a mall. But man, now I'm blanking on it. But there was a zombie video game that was centralized around that concept. Um,
Yeah, what was that?
I
Was it
can't.
Dead Rising? Was that the name of it?
Maybe I'm probably gonna have to look it up.
I can picture the cover of it. It was like in the Xbox 360 era.
Yeah, and the dude was had the pole with the chainsaws on the two ends, I think. Um,
Yeah, if that was Dead Rising 2. It's
okay.
Dead Rising that was in a mall.
Okay, yep.
And the guy's got like a big fatback TV over his head.
Yeah, there we go.
He's gonna smash someone with a CRT.
Do some damage with that.
Yeah, if you can wield it.
But yeah, so it was just kind of cool to see once they got to the mall. Because yeah, I had that concept too. Like throughout the whole movie, I was just like, dude, just like before they made the decision, like, oh, we're gonna hang out here. I was just like, dude, just take control, like flush them out, and you could be set up pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's also a remake of this movie.
rock.
That came out in like the early 2000s, and I just saw it last year when I went to that yearly horror marathon
Okay.
at the Howell Theater that I go to. Um yeah, and it's actually pretty good. It's different than this. It's got the similar premise,
Is
but
it a mall?
yep, they're in a mall.
Okay.
But they do some different things in it too. It's kind of interesting. It's Ving Rhames is in it, and so
Um.
is Ty Burrell from Modern Family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's odds and ends of people in that went on to do other things, but yeah, that was pretty fun too. It was more uh it's faster paced because this one's a little slow.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
takes
would
some
agree.
time to build. I mean, it's over 2 hours long.
And I mean, we're talking about 78, so
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that this came out in the same year as Halloween.
mm, yeah.
It's a big year for horror.
Hmm.
Uh, um, man, things that stand out to me every time I see this. I think the first thing I think of when I think of this movie is funny enough, it's not any of the mall scenes, it's that raid at the beginning
Okay. Yeah.
because that just like okay, I told you when we watched this that the version we watched, I'm pretty sure was the Italian cut
Yeah.
because I don't remember seeing like these newscasts and everything crazy at the beginning. You know, I could be wrong and I just don't remember it. But I remember it starting with that raid in that apartment building and it just being like balls to the wall at the beginning. Like I remember that, and then I also remember like the neon orangey red blood
Yeah.
that's in it, which just makes me think of Giallo movies from like around the same time because they
Hmm.
always had that color blood too. Which is funny because one of the producers on this is Dario Argento.
Well, I would probably say that if you chopped out that newscast beginning,
Yeah.
that this movie would feel a little bit more I don't know, right word modern because it would start off so fast paced then.
Hmm.
Because that intro, while I did enjoy the intro, that kind of intro, because it was just kind of a not super unique, but you know, a lot. You see a lot. I feel like post 2000 where there's zombie stuff, and you know, they're just so much cliche of where people will just start out their day, then all of a sudden, boom, there's a zombie, and the breakout's happening.
Yeah.
Like 28 days later, there was another one. The Walking Dead started out like that.
That's
um
how the remake of Dawn of the Dead starts.
okay, so yeah, so just like I feel like that was used a lot in that time frame. And so action, quick action essentially. And so if you took out that newsroom scene at the beginning and started out with that SWAT scene, like that would totally get you going. However, I am kind of glad that it didn't go this way for when I watched it, because after that then it would slow down so much. Because it started a little bit slow with that news scene where it kind of like brings you in, it gets your attention, like, oh, chaos is happening, like, this is kind of a unique take on it. You're not seeing it as like the viewer at home of like, oh no, the world is ending. It's like the news people trying to figure out even what to tell you.
Hmm.
Um, and then you get some action, and then you get a big kind of a lull there for a little while they start getting things established in the mall. So
Yeah, it's like a slow build towards the end, and then towards the end is when that biker gang comes in, and that's when it gets crazy again.
yeah, chaos.
Yeah, I guess with this movie, what I like seeing is just like they're planning the exploration of the mall, and then like their shopping spree that they go through.
Yeah.
Like that kind of cracks me up because it's just kind of like lighthearted, like almost a break from
Hmm.
like the craziness and the gore and everything.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's another thing too. Like this movie has really good gore in it for the time,
Hmm.
which I mean it was done by Tom Savini,
Of course.
so yeah,
Great
not a
work.
big surprise. Also, Tom Savini's in the movie.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was
Yeah,
just like, oh, I know
so
who.
he's the biker with the big bushy mustache. Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually funny because as soon as I saw him, though, I first thought that he was the villain guy from Robin Hood Men in Tights. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh man,
That's who I thought it was at first, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, 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 I know who that is."
I have not seen Robin Hood Men in Tights in years.
Neither have
I
I.
do remember watching it in college and then laughing my butt off because Dave Chappelle was in it and I had no idea.
Oh yeah, wasn't he blind?
I think
Or
so, yeah.
maybe it was a different guy. Somebody was blind, but yeah, Dave Chappelle. Yep.
Uh, Dave Chappelle is also in Con Air.
Oh man, I did forget about that.
Yeah. But little tangent. uh so there's I think some of my favorite gore scenes. I mean you get the machete to the head
Hmm.
that Tom Savini does to the one zombie. And then also right towards the beginning where they get the helicopter and the blades are spinning around and that zombie's coming after him and he gets like the top of his head cut off by the blades.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then it's your typical shoot them in the head. That's how they die for a lot of
Yeah.
it. And then like the zombie bites and stuff. Some of those are gruesome.
Oh yeah, especially in that SWAT thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
So
And two kids get killed.
yeah,
Zombie kids.
that was a little bit of a twist there. One thing, one thing that I laughed and I had in my notes is that one thing that seems to be consistent with zombie movies of the past and present is that without fail, they will say that rednecks will outlast a bunch of other people just because they're going around toting their guns and like making a
Their
game out of it.
dreams came true.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're gonna just shoot some stuff.
Good thing they didn't take our guns.
They just took our jobs.
You can take my job, but you can't take my gun. Yeah, pretty much. Uh, oh, the one scene. Did you see the scene where Ken Forey's character grabs a zombie and throws it off the balcony, and it's obviously a dummy?
Yeah, it,
Oh,
it
that cracked me up.
it does look better than some other ones we've seen
Well, it looks better than Riccio,
though. Yeah, for
the
sure.
girl who jumps off the top of that building and splats on the ground.
Hmm.
Uh, Man, I want to watch Riccio again. It's been a while.
Yeah,
That was a good surprise movie.
we might have to. Well, I think we were talking about because man, where are we at here? A little bit of tangent, but we're at episode 344.
345, 344, right around there. Yeah.
So I know it'll be a while still, but maybe around episode 400, we need to do a best of the awesomely bad movies month.
Yeah. Rock. That is a good idea.
But
Oh,
until then, yeah, I thought It was kind of interesting. Few because it was very straightforward, like just surviving and everything. So I was kind of like wondering, man, what's going to be the final conflict, the climax, essentially.
Hmm.
And I felt really dumb because I was just like, of course, I did not think of an outside um issue. Like I didn't
Hmm.
think of like the other human element. So, but then I was thinking too, I was just like, well, they should be thinking a little bit. If you're going around flying a helicopter, somebody's gonna probably notice you.
Yeah.
So
The Choppa.
the chopper. And then they also added in the thing that she was pregnant.
Yeah, I guess I missed that on previous viewings. But yeah, that kind of more ramps up the intensity towards the end, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like it didn't impact too much, but like there was the thought in the back of your mind the whole time.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I thought for a little bit that maybe that was going to be kind of near the climax thing of like her trying to have a baby in these crazy conditions. But then it leads me to think on being like, well, what the heck, man? After they left, what did they even do? Like, no offense to Peter, he seems to have a good head on his shoulders, but I don't know that he's going to be able to deliver a baby by himself.
Right.
So
What if it would have been born and been a zombie baby?
that would have been
Zombie
gross.
baby.
Zabebe.
And the baby just eats its way out,
Oh, gross.
bursts through the stomach like alien.
Ew.
Here's zombie baby.
Kid zombies and baby zombies are just gross.
Dog zombies.
Those are scary, but
Yeah.
not gross usually.
It'd be funny if it was like all other pets, like gerbils.
What wasn't there a movie Zombiever or
Yeah,
something?
zombievers. Yep.
Gosh.
That might have to be added to a list sometime because that was actually a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, that sounds like an
It
awesomely
was
bad movie.
ridiculous, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I just like the setting of a late 70s, early 80s shopping mall. It's just perfect for a zombie movie, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't think they would
Because there's
have.
so many things that like they can get. There's
Hmm.
different gags and stuff. Like it cracks me up. The one guy in the biker gang who's taking his blood pressure
Yeah, that was a
in the
good, the
blood pressure machine.
sombrero wearing guy.
Yeah. That just cracks me up.
I remember playing with those when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, well, there was no way that they were ever going to know too that that was going to be so nostalgic considering the condition of current malls, you
Oh
know?
yeah, for sure.
Like that was part of the thing why I was thinking while I was watching it, where I was just like, wow, this dates this movie so much because malls are basically extinct now.
Yeah, like even movies like Paul Blart Mall Cop, which isn't that old,
Yeah.
feels dated.
Mall, what's
Uh,
that?
yeah, what? Yeah, at one point, somebody's going to be like, "What's a mall?"
And then How I Met Your Mother is gonna totally have a song that's worthless.
Let's go to the mall. Maybe the
Today.
malls are still big in Canada.
Maybe. Yeah, I remember one time when we in the past couple years we went down to because my parents go to Florida,
Hmm.
and so we went to go visit them, and of course, well, I mean, like we're in not super podunk Michigan, but we're not exactly in big cities, and so we were near bigger places in Florida, and more of the bigger cities still have malls because they have enough people to actually have foot traffic.
Yeah,
So yeah, we went to one, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's actually people here.
yeah. Great Lakes Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
They're down by Detroit. Yeah, that's still going strong. Um, I always forget the parts with the trucks where they go and block like the doors with the trucks,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the
Was
little guy gets bitten.
yeah, is that
Roger.
Roger? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he slowly turns into a zombie and gets shot.
Well, now hold on. There was something I put in my notes about this because I thought that same thing too right away from the zombie um rules, I guess, or laws or
Yeah.
whatever that we've kind of grown up with, where this one seemed to be that you don't become a zombie from getting bit. You become a zombie when you die.
Yeah,
Um,
because he was bitten twice.
yeah, because he was bitten twice and he didn't turn. It wasn't until like he was on his deathbed and he's just like, "Hey, dude, like when I'm gone, if I come back, you wait and don't take me and don't kill me unless like I come back."
Yeah.
Because I was waiting for that too, because all the things that our mind is accustomed to with, more of the modern movies, as I've been saying, is that once you get bit, you start to turn. I mean, like 28 Days Later does that, Walking Dead does that. I think all of the modern ones have that concept where if you get bit, you get infected and then you become it. Because they even talked on the show in the movie that it was the dead coming to alive again,
Hmm.
and they did not talk about like necessarily an infection. They talked about some kind of a virus or something that was causing it, but not that technically somebody living could turn into one of them.
My question is, um, since Roger was like slowly dying, was it the virus slowly killing him? And then like he comes back alive? Or was he dying like from his wounds?
I'm not sure
And the
either.
virus just laid dormant until he died.
I think it was the wounds that got him.
Okay.
Um, but I am not, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's really an answer or if they left it up to interpretation. So,
Well, it was a little more explanation than they gave in Night of the Living Dead,
yeah.
which I mean, obviously this is a sequel. Um, I did like in Night of the Living Dead how it's just like these are people that were dead that came back to life and no one knows why.
Yeah. Well,
How
actually,
nothing's really explained, yeah.
actually shoot in that as well. Because there was another part of that movie dealing with Roger. It was actually right before he got bit. It was when they were getting the truck and he got jumped and he almost got taken out.
Yeah.
That Peter shot a zombie that was on top of him and like blood squirted on his face.
Hmm.
And then I thought, I was just like, oh shoot, like he's gonna get infected because of the blood. Because that's another thing that some of the modern movies do, or most of them do. Specifically, 28 Days Later has that scene where a guy just gets blood in his eye and he turns within seconds from that. So I didn't know if that was kind of something that was in this movie too, where it's just like, well, if you get the blood in your system, then you can also get infected that way. But apparently that didn't do it either. So
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that either. He also got a little cocky too there,
yeah.
where he's like, I'm gonna try to take some of these guys out, and then that's when he gets like bit the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then he's trying to get back, and then that's when he gets bit on the leg.
um, I feel like, I
We
mean,
get, huh?
it's real quick. I feel like, and it's always like 2020, you're always watching the movie and you're just like, oh, this is what I would have done. But they were relatively smart enough that I feel like they would have thought of drawing the zombies away, like into the parking lot,
Hmm.
and then had him jump out of the truck and go run to the other truck and get his stuff and then run back out.
Yeah.
Instead of like, they basically drove right back into it when all of them were hanging out in the same spot, anyways. So, but I don't know. Side note.
Um. Oh, we also get Flyboy to the helicopter pilot. He turns as well, which is kind of funny because when he turns, he's holding a gun,
Yeah.
and you see the zombie version of him that's still holding that gun, but he doesn't use it. It's kind of there.
Mhm. Well, did you notice so I think it was the first time that Roger and Peter went to that department store
Hmm.
and they were trying to close the door and one of the zombies got hold of Roger's gun. I think it was like the A no, not the AK, the AR-15 type
Yeah.
gun. And he was just like, just let it go. So they closed the door and the zombie had the gun. you could see that zombie throughout most of the rest of the movie still walking around holding that gun.
Hmm.
Like
That's
he was,
funny.
yeah, he was just like in the background. You'd see him every once in a while, and he's just holding the gun for whatever reason.
Dude, George Romero was big on that kind of stuff because so after this he made Day of the Dead. That was like in the 80s. And then he made I think it was called Land of the Dead,
Okay.
and that was like in the 2000s. And you see Tom Savini in a horde of zombies as his biker character, as a zombie.
Oh, seriously,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, he was big in that kind of stuff, like continuity stuff and
Hmm.
like little Easter eggs and things like that. Uh, yeah, that's funny. I did notice, especially towards the end there too, where they're trying to escape and the one zombie's got the assault rifle,
Hmm.
but he's not using it. He's just kind of wielding it.
Yeah. Um, One thing that I thought was kind of weird with this, I mean, made me think of it because you were just talking about Flyboy becoming a zombie there towards the end. Um, Peter was really kind of weird at the end, where like he helps the girl escape, blinking
Yeah,
on her,
and then it's like
blinking.
he was just gonna kill himself.
Yeah, he was just like, "No, I'm not going to go with you. Just get out of here." And then, I mean, like it. I don't really know. Maybe they were kind of going for that whole like desperation of like end of the world. You're not really thinking straight, but like I don't really know and understand where at any point I would think to myself, I would much rather just have the person leave, be on their own. Someone who is pregnant, by the way, like I'm
Hmm.
putting them in a worse situation and I'm just going to end things for myself here. Like there was no reason he needed to. He wasn't bit, he wasn't infected or anything like that. He was just giving up.
Yeah.
And it's just like it seemed a little bit odd to me because then all of a sudden he reconsidered it and he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna get out of here." It's like pushing zombies off him. Like he should have gotten bit like 15 times, but he makes it out and then he runs out there to the helicopter and gets in.
He like pump kicks a few
Yeah,
zombies backwards. Yeah.
and then I do kind of like how the movie ended just because it wasn't a cliche trope that you see.
Hmm.
Um, because most of the time in horror movies, completely, but in zombie movies too, there's always like, oh, it's not really over, kind of a thing. But
Hmm.
they just left it open ended, and Peter just says, "How much fuel do we have?" She says, "Not much," and he's like, "All right, end of movie."
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
So you don't know, like it's kind of ambiguous. Like, are they gonna make it to someplace safe, or are they just gonna crash down and get overrun by zombies?
Yeah, and there's not like you don't feel super hopeful. It's just like you kind of want to know what happens, but they don't give you anything.
Yeah. You know, people are always like, "Oh, the slow shambling zombies, like it'd be so easy to get away from and defend yourself from." But it's not so much getting away from the zombies, it's there's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And like if you're running away and you're in a place where you're not completely familiar with, and you take one wrong turn, you're done.
Well,
You get yourself cornered, you run down like an alley there's no escape from, you're done.
yeah. Here's the thing that I often think about. Because this comes into the whole like, oh, hindsight 2020. When you are able to view it from the outside and everything, I always feel like one of the most effective approaches would be to have some like machetes or something like that.
Yeah.
Get into a controlled area, like when they were near the department store. Open the
Hmm.
door, three of you, one person inside, two people outside. Open the door, two people go out, and they take out like a dozen zombies. And then obviously, like a bunch of them would start coming in. Then you just leave and you call it a day or something, or you go to a different area and you do the same thing, like small controlled things of taking out the zombies, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other element of that too that I don't really hear it talked about a whole lot, and I will first and foremost say, like, I know I have not watched all the zombie movies out there, but as much as they say that the zombies will just keep growing in number, they're eventually going to be limited though,
Yeah.
because they're feeding like it's dependent on the living to turn into the dead. So if the living, like if each living person is able to take out even just 10 zombies, like you're going to start drastically changing the numbers kind of in your favor. And then eventually, maybe you don't wipe them all out, but eventually, when like things happen and maybe like an outbreak happens or an attack happens, it's going to be so much smaller
Hmm.
than the original outbreak. So I kind of feel like you could, I mean, if they're the slower zombies, as shown in this specific movie, that you could eventually kind of almost eradicate it. I mean, it would take time. It would take years, I'm sure. But it would seem a lot more feasible than when you're dealing with something like fast running, crazy, angry zombies like 28 days later.
Yeah, rage virus infected people.
Yeah. Because it's essentially when that happens, one person gets infected and then everybody starts getting infected. Like, because you can't stop it because it's so fast.
Yeah.
Where with this, it's like if you had a small community that survives, like maybe 50 people, and one person gets infected and everything, like it would take a little while before they start like taking out a bunch of other people. They might get a couple people, but then you just boom, kill them right away, and then you're back to being like, okay, we're good until the next issue. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, who knows?
Speaking of 28 days later, did you see there's another one coming out? 28
Yeah.
years later, comes out in June.
It looks
That
kind
should
of
be
interesting.
interesting. The first two are good.
Well, did you see did you watch the trailer?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. Well, it's not going to really spoil anything because it's in the trailer. It seems like they're alluding to an idea that like either the zombies can evolve or there's like a super race of zombies.
Okay.
Um, which I don't know, kind of interesting maybe, but I don't know. I mean, I guess time will tell.
Well, I mean, with the 28 years and days later, I feel like those aren't fully full on zombies. They're more kind of just like infected people
Yeah, true. They don't.
with a
They
rage
don't.
virus. They're not really like flat out called zombies.
Hmm. I was just gonna say that they don't. They don't actually call them zombies. I think at all in the movies.
So I mean, like the with them evolving and stuff, it could just be like a new strand of the virus, you know?
Yeah. So I guess it would make more sense in something like that. That's the same thing with well, the current thing going on is The Last of Us,
Yeah.
which is based off of the video game, and they don't call them zombies either. Um, crap. They call them infected, and I feel like there's something else that they call them. Different types have different names too. There were like the clickers and the I think there was like the
Yeah.
berserkers or something, but yeah, they don't call them zombies either. So they're not really zombies, but they're the undead. They're anything that involves like the undead, you don't have to call it a zombie, but it's in the same ballpark.
Yeah. It's all in that same vein. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So anything else to add? Oh man, one thing we didn't talk about. The music.
Oh yeah.
The music's pretty good.
Hmm.
You know who did the music?
Did I see it was Goblin?
Yes, the band that did the music for Suspiria that we like so much.
Yeah, I thought I saw that at the beginning.
You could kind of tell. You know, it's got some similar things to it, but there's also like some guitar heavy stuff and things towards the end that just sounded like something you'd hear in a classic rock station.
Yeah. I did have one other thing here about kind of, I don't know if I would call it a favorite moment, but when things started off so quickly at the beginning, one part that kind of made me laugh a little bit was, I don't know, I don't know if it would have been cliche at the time, but it's definitely been cliche since this, is where they're like getting ready for the raid. And then Roger's talking to a guy with him, and he's like, rookie, newbie, greenhorn. And he's just like, oh, yeah, just take it easy, just stay back. And, we should be able to get out of this okay. And then, boom, the door busts open, and the guys come out, and somebody just domes the guy right in the head.
Hmm.
I just thought that was kind of funny.
You also get the one where they put a pie in a zombie's face.
Oh, yeah. That was a little cheesy.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, pretty much any Italian horror movie from the 70s or 80s, the score was done by Goblin
Rock.
or someone who was a member of Goblin, like Claudio Simonetti or Fabio Frizzi.
Hmm.
Yeah, they did a lot of almost all the Italian movies. It seems like when we watched Zombie 2, they did
Yeah.
the soundtrack for that as well. But there's also another one. I think it might be on a list sometime. Um, it's Demons, which is
Okay.
it's a very much like a zombie movie as well, because it's like demonic people going around attacking, and then there's Demons too that takes place in a like a high rise apartment building.
Hmm.
They're both pretty good. But yeah,
Rock.
those also have, I believe Claudio Simonetti did the soundtrack for those. But yeah, that was probably the last major thing of note, unless you got something else.
Nope.
All right. So trivia and facts. Tom Savini chose the gray color of the zombie's skin, since Night of the Living Dead was in black and white, and the zombie's skin tone was not depicted. He later said it was a mistake because many of them looked quite blue on the film.
Hmm. Okay.
Extras who appeared in this film were reportedly given $1 in cash, a donut, and a Dawn of the Dead t-shirt. So the outdoor scene where hunters, emergency crew, and soldiers are shooting at zombies was done using local volunteers. Several local hunters arrived on scene with their own weapons. The local National Guard division showed up in full gear, and a local emergency crew were present, all voluntarily.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Dario Argento was an admirer of George A. Romero's work, and vice versa. When Argento heard that Romero was contemplating a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, he insisted that Romero come to Argento's native Rome to write the script without distractions. Romero knocked out the script in 3 weeks, and though um, Argento read the script as it came out, he left all the writing to Romero. Argento also provided most of the film's soundtrack and in return to the rights to edit the European version of the film and assisting in raising the necessary funds for the movie.
Rock.
So the two zombie children that we talked about who attack Peter in
Oh
the
yeah.
airport, um, they're played by Melissa Dunlop and Mike Savini. They are real life niece and nephew of Tom Savini.
Hmm.
They are also the only zombies in all the George A. Romero Dead films that spontaneously run and never do the trademark zombie shuffle. So filming at the Monroeville Mall took place during the winter of 1978 and 77, um, with a 3 week reprieve during the Christmas shopping season, because it was too expensive for them to take down all the Christmas decorations and then put them back up.
Okay.
And filming in the mall began around 10 p.m. shortly after the mall closed and finished at 6 a.m. The mall didn't open until 10:30, but at 6, the music came on and no one knew how to turn it off.
Ha.
There were few bars in the area, and Savini remembers making up zombies who would then go to the bar and drink. Everyone agreed this probably helped their performances. Does say that the drunk zombies caused some damage, particularly a couple who stole a golf cart and crashed it inside the mall.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So Romero had already wanted to hire Tom Savini to do the effects in Night of the Living Dead, but Savini, who served as a combat photographer in the U.S. Army, couldn't commit because he had to go on tour to Vietnam. Fortunately, he was able to do this film, and his recent Vietnam experience played an enormous part in his visualization of the graphic gore effects, as he was basically just recreating what he saw in real life,
Hmm.
which I heard that in an interview with him one time. And then the last thing I got is this movie cost $640,000 and it made 66 million in the box office.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's worldwide. Wide.
640,000. How many? 6 million?
66.
66 million.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. And then grades. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. What are they?
I may have seen IMDb. Is it like is it 92? Or oh, sorry. No, I mean tomato.
The critic, yeah, for Rotten Tomatoes is a 92.
Okay.
What do you think the audience is?
Audience 90?
It is a 90.
Ooh, snap. Sweet.
And then
Um
IMDb,
IMDb 8.5.
close. It was a 7.8.
Uh went too high. Flew too high for the
Rock.
sun.
You want to go first? I think I
Sure.
went first last time.
Yeah. No, I mean, so we'll talk about 1978 here. Um, it's a really good sign when you can watch a movie from that long ago and still enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
and find it entertaining. Definitely some differences with the whole like pace of the movie and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but shot really well. I mean, we talked about the great music, great special effects. Even though it's slow, the pacing is really well. The storytelling through the movie is great because they progress through it nicely. Like we've seen, well, obviously we just got off awesomely bad movie month, so we've seen some really bad examples of how to edit and piece together a movie. This is done really well. You get, you know, uh, grabs your attention at the beginning, and then you get points of conflict, and then you kind of get like, okay, you feel like things are okay now, and then you've got little new conflicts that pop up and everything, um, until you get to the climax. So just really well done and put together. Can completely understand how this did so well with its worldwide numbers. Because I mean, I think honestly, if you put together a movie like this today, obviously with some upgrades, um, that it would be a good hit as well, because it just has a lot of things working for it that worked back then that also are essentially timeless. Like you can still appreciate them now. So
Yeah.
it's easy for me in the genre of the zombie films and also the horror movies to give this a 5 out of 5.
Rock. That's the same place I'm at. It's a 5 out of 5. Um, I'm just telling you, the slow burn horror movie is starting to make its way back.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of movies that take a lot of things from 70s horror, where 80s horror was more fast pace and gruesome stuff, where 70s spent more time like building the story and the characters and everything, which I mean George Romero always did a great job of that. And also finding actors that were relatively unknown that were really good. Because the acting in this movie is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, Ken Foree would go on to do lots of things. I mean, we saw him in uh one of the Rob Zombie Halloweens.
Okay.
Remember he was Joe Grizzly,
Okay.
the guy in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think that's what his name was, is Joe Grizzly, something Grizzly. But yeah, he always just kind of plays like a badass character. But yeah, and then the fact that like I always appreciate George Romero, and in fact in college we had to make a website based on a an artist, and I made one based on George Romero,
Mm,
and like all of his it had like his filmography and all that stuff in it. I always like appreciate his stuff and respected it because he didn't he would make something that he enjoyed and he thought was good and like his artistic vision, and
yeah.
then he wouldn't bend,
Mm,
because that was the way it was with uh Night of the Living Dead, where he basically put that out himself, make it
yeah.
because then they like wanted him to tone down the gore and all that kind of stuff, and he refused to do it. And the fact that in these first two in this series where the lead character is a black man
Yeah.
didn't happen very often, and that was just something that he did. And they were like, his movies are also known for having a critique of society
Okay.
in general, where it was like the first one was about racial inequality and things like that, and then this one was more about uh, consumerism, because like we got the zombies in the mall and everything, and then the
Gotcha.
second one kind of, or then Day of the Dead kind of takes it even further than that.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then with this one too, like they were gonna give it an NC-17 rating, and they wanted him to cut some of the gore out and everything, and he refused.
Huh.
But he didn't want it to have the NC-17 rating because that was more at the time. It was more associated with like porn movies.
Okay.
So he basically somehow made an agreement uh, with the production company or whatever, whoever was releasing it, to release it as unrated.
Yeah, I saw it was listed as unrated, so
Yeah, listed as unrated. And there was a disclaimer on the poster, I believe, that said no one under 17 will be permitted.
hmm.
So it was kind of like a loophole thing he did, but he didn't compromise. But yeah, but easy. I mean, wrapping that up, easy five for me.
Rock.
It's one of my favorite zombie movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Next week we're gonna be continuing on with horror month, and we're finally getting to a request that we had probably like 2 years ago now. And when I released the promo video for this month, our listener actually commented on it and said, "Oh, right, you're doing Identity." And I'm like, "Oh man!" I was like, "Well, thanks for waiting for so long."
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I
Uh,
remember talking about that because that was one of the few horror movies. Is it like is it technically horror? Like it is technically horror. Yeah.
yeah,
That I saw, earlier on in my movie viewership. So,
yeah. So listener Justin, we're finally getting to your movie.
yeah.
So hopefully we can live up to it the way.
I know I'm going to enjoy it cuz I've seen it. So,
Oh,
and
see, I haven't seen it, so that'll be an interesting
yeah,
thing for us because I don't think we've ever watched a horror movie on this podcast that you have seen and I haven't seen before.
that is very true. Have you seen Ravenous though?
No.
So we're going to have two this month.
Oh my gosh.
I know history is being made on the show.
And then three movies that well, I mean, Dawn of the Dead, which I've seen quite a few times, and then we're doing Identity, which I haven't seen, and then Killer Party that I've seen a couple times, Ravenous that I haven't seen, and then The Descent, which I've seen countless times.
Yeah. Haven't that's a new one for me, The Descent. Kind of like
Mm.
this one, so
Yeah, I think you'll like that because it's kind of similar to zombies as well.
yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to this entire month and experiencing a new movie next week, so that should be fun. If you guys are liking the show, please subscribe and share. You can follow us on social media. We're on pretty much every platform. Check out our YouTube and our TikTok. And also, if you ever have an idea of a movie you want us to review, just let us know. It may take a couple of years to get to it, but we'll do it.
I was just gonna say, hopefully it won't take a couple years next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the other recommendation video that comes to mind is Riccio.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it came from somebody first or if you already had it on the list. And that one
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
take.
remember because we've had people like friends of ours and stuff say, "Oh, you should watch this movie."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But yeah. So if you are Justin or anybody who's really interested in listening us talk about Identity, come by next week. We're going to be discussing it. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.